So I'd like to thank very much Alison and the panel for an extraordinarily interesting and in-depth conversation about what the digital world could and indeed can't do for us in education. And I think what it highlights for me is the importance really that I've seen right from the start of today through to now, which is the importance of conversation, the importance of bringing together people from right the way across the educational spectrum, including those involved in research, including teachers, professionals, including universities, schools, colleges, FE. And I think that one of the most important things for me is that this is not the end of the discussion, but it's the beginning of something really important. And that really important thing has got to be reflective. It's got to take on board the concerns, the need for a new lexicon, the need to define terms, the need to make sure that people understand what it is that we're trying to achieve by reform of assessment, what it is that in fact underpins everything that we think about education. And I don't think we're even there yet. I think it's important that we come together to build a core common threads of what it is that we think young people deserve for the future, beginning with Andy Haldane and his view of the way the world is changing and the importance of soft or indeed deep thinking skills that we need to bring to the table for our young people. Beatrice Pont, how we bring about that journey of change is so important. If we talk about too much too suddenly, then we're likely to alienate. And I think Beatrice and others, and indeed the Scottish experience, shows that what you have to do is to work within your societal assumptions, within indeed the history which has produced the curriculum and the assessment that we have today, to understand it, to be able to talk its language, in order to be able to break it down and demonstrate that perhaps we could be doing something differently. But what I passionately believe in amongst all of this is that if we're here in 10 or 20 years' time having the same conversation, then we collectively will have failed future generations. It's not okay. We've heard from so many people the reasons that we need to change, be it Andy Haldane and skills for the future, be it the whole issue of access. And it's been borne on me for so many years that the ever-increasing list of special considerations that we have to put into place to enable young people to sit in an exam hall and take those singular written examinations just demonstrates that they simply don't play to the strengths of every single child in front of us. How can we create a system which is robust, but which is also accessible and also fit for purpose? And I think there are some wonderful things out of today. Assessment doesn't have to be the same in every occasion. We need accountability, of course we do. But at 16, does everything have to be high stakes accountable? Could we not have a common core, let's say, of adaptive testing, and then around that, the opportunity to be far more creative in what we're doing? Can't we have a look at a baccalaureate at 18, which brings things with greater breadth together at the end of that learning journey? And what we've not addressed today in any shape or guise is the primary school issue. And so many primary colleagues have spoken to me about the heartbreak of those assessments, so frequent when children are so young. And the sense, despite ways in which you might be able to give the results to those young people in as gentle a form as possible, that the parents absorb, the children absorb, that some are less good, indeed that some have failed. I think that we need to think about the way we're talking to young people about their achievements in order to encourage, to embrace, and I've used this expression before, to lift the lid on learning and to assess and to encourage what they can do rather than judge them by what they can't do. So for me, this is a really, really fundamentally important conference, and fundamentally important that we don't stop here, but that we carry on thinking and talking about it. And I would like to thank such a large number of people for making today possible. I'd like to start actually with you. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for joining in our conversations. We probably haven't had enough time for Q&A and reflection and feedback from you, but we'd love to collect your feedback, and there will indeed be an opportunity to do so. We will reach out to you to ask you for your comments and your thoughts. We will, by Monday, have with you the slides, videos, presentations from today, so you will be able to take this conference and think about it and share it and come back and debate it and discuss it, so that, again, we can enrich the conversation beyond the walls of this particular hall. So thank you for coming, and thank you for showing an interest in this debate. I'd like to thank all of our speakers and all of our panellists and our panel chairs. They have been absolutely wonderful. They've come from all over, and when we were reaching out to people to come and talk at a conference on education, there was almost nobody who said that they couldn't. And if they said that they couldn't, it was because they had another pressing engagement. I think it's really interesting for me that so many people want to talk about education, and I think we need far more opportunities to continue that debate. I'd like to thank hugely the Edge Foundation, HMC, ASCL, Rethinking Assessment for their time, their support, their input in backing this conference, in making it possible. And in particular, I'd like to thank the HMC and Edge events teams for everything that they have done. Without them, nothing would have been possible today. You can dream a dream and say, I want a conference, but unless you have really wonderful people working behind the scenes to make it happen, it simply won't. And I would like to thank Roy Blackwell for enabling us to host this conference in this extraordinary hall, Draper's Hall. I'd just like to tell you that they have given us this conference base, the food, and indeed the drinks reception afterwards, to which you're all invited, pro bono. And that is staggering. That's why we've been able to put on this conference, and I am so grateful to them for their support. I'd like to thank Eleanor. You'll have seen her illustrations going up. She is brilliant, and you will be receiving a PDF of those pictures, which I hope will begin to recreate some of the memories and the conversations and the thoughts for today that you'll be able to take away and continue thinking using those pictures as stimulus. I'd like to thank as well the AV and the video crew, who have been absolutely wonderful in pulling all of these together and in supporting us. Thank you so much. And I'd like to single out in particular Nina. I don't know where Nina is. Nina, you're right at the back, but I wish you would come forward, please. If anyone wants a brilliant events organizer, Nina's your person. She's absolutely staggering. And before my close, and we will close with a video of young people, their voice, which I think it's essential that a conversation about education should be with young people bringing up that conclusion. I'd like to invite Ollie to the stage as well, just to say thank you to you too.
To you, Sarah, for this is very much your brainchild, and it's been an absolute pleasure being on this journey. These are for you. I will present them to you once we've watched the video. But
thank you so much, Ollie. Thank you. Thank you.
I think our school was sort of defined as like really different and wacky at the time, and probably by today's standards as well. But I think that's what stands out to me the most, is the focus on well-being, the focus on pushing students to be well-rounded, whether that be through project-based learning, where we're learning really what it means to be an educator and to what it means to be a learner, as opposed to just learning things for the sake of it. So combining things, coming up with ideas, but also thinking about our experiences and opportunities and doing real-world learning experience, which is over a longer period of time, which allows us to then really understand what we're working on, as opposed to, like I said, doing things on a surface level, which I think most educational institutions push, as opposed to pushing the real learning and the proper learning, in my opinion.
I mean, my position's a bit individual because I have both ADHD and dyslexia, so obviously kind of sets me back a little in the way that the system's kind of structured at the moment. I think obviously from my experience, biggest thing is obviously like assessments, I suppose, and the ways in which that a lot of people like can cope with those or struggle with those. I think that from my point of view, I've always had an issue with listing out facts, regurgitating it on a piece of paper, and it doesn't feel as though you're like really applying yourself.
From year 10, I'd 100% say work experience. Work experience was at the time of my life because it was a great experience to get treated as like older adults, and it was just a fun experience with friends.
So I would say that the education system right now is very goal-oriented. So when you're learning things, you're not really learning them for the sake of learning them or the enjoyment of the process, but it's rather towards a certain grade. And really, you're not actually understanding what that means in the sort of large scope of things for your life and really the world in general.
Whilst I think I was good at exams on paper, I never really understood them. I never really got anything out of them because it became a memory game for me, and that was something that upset me because it meant that I wasn't really learning. I was just remembering things and reciting them. And therefore, when I got to the university standard and got to my job now where I'm trying to teach other students, it becomes sort of a vicious cycle where I can see them not learning something, they're just remembering things. So it's kind of sad that that's something that I didn't really enjoy, and now I feel like other students are going through the same thing. So whilst I feel like I'm doing great things with my program and the things that I do outside of the curriculum, I feel like the curriculum has been pretty stagnant in the sense that it still pushes that idea of memorize things and then you'll get through exams. And then you'll get to the next stage in life. And it's almost like monotonous in a way, but it doesn't push for people to be better human beings or to be successful in the way that they want to be.
I think just a diversity within the education, not that one-size-fits-all mentality, that some pupils like different things and will excel in different things like sports or art, and not just that focus on the sciences, on maths or any of the STEM subjects.
My ideal education looks like an even playing field between the teachers and the students, where we both know the teacher knows more. However, the teacher doesn't use that like as a power imbalance, and like they treat us as equals.
I think that right now there's a lot of kind of inequality within the system, whether that's between people with certain disabilities, learning difficulties, or economically. And I think that just trying to provide for each of those differences is a way to kind of put people on the same page, rather than sort of saying, oh, here's a 2-hour-long test, and if you don't do well in that, you know, your worth is a number on a page. So if you don't do well in that, then that's sort of representative of who you are. Something that works to change that, or that works to provide the necessary like building blocks to give people the same kind of equal chances, or, you know, to make the actual test within itself equal, you know, which you wouldn't find with people kind of having different sort of learning styles or abilities.
I would say that currently, when you live in a world such as ours right now, where there's like a huge influx of information, what you really want to be doing is learning the skills to be able to sort of synthesize that knowledge and bringing different concepts together, which is what I think is sort of we're looking for right now. There's a lot of different things that we know, and we're really equipped with new technological advancements, but we don't really actually know how to sort of deal with them, or it's, you know, a new stage where we want to be taking things like thinking more creatively about what we sort of already have and using that to advance society rather than using more sort of knowledge to advance society.
I would change like the way assessments are and how like GCSEs are all based on like recall and like what you know, but not everything you're tested on from the past 5 years of schooling. I'll change that.
As radical as it sounds, I think exams are just horrible. I don't think they promote good education. I don't think they promote success in any way, shape or form. And I would want them gone. I think that there are alternatives that promote the success, that promote the good hard work, that promote students' abilities to understand content as opposed to just reciting it. So I would want them gone, and I would want more project-based learning, because I think that when you get into the real world, really allows you to be like, I've learnt this, I know how to do this, and I can apply the skills that I've learnt, as opposed to I'm sort of left in the dark here and I'm trying to learn on the job. No one should be forced to learn on the job, apart from if it's a completely new field. People should feel prepared to enter the working environment if that's what they want to do, and they should feel prepared to enter the next stages of life. And things like exams and things like testing students, creating the education system into a competition doesn't promote that. So I want the exams gone, I want more project-based learning, I just want things that allow students to be themselves, and right now the structure just doesn't allow that.
I think exams, rather than having an exam at the end of the year testing you on all the knowledge that you learn, I think having continuous assessments, different types like group work or presentations to develop other soft skills, that's something that I would want to change.
I remember taking my mocks and I was really nervous and I was scared because I took mocks very seriously because I thought it would impact me a lot. But now looking back on it, like, I've even forgot the grades I've gotten. So it didn't really impact me that much, but I remember at the time it was made to be like such a big deal. So it made me feel very like sad because I didn't do that well, not as well as I wanted to. I feel like they shouldn't be taken as seriously because they ain't gonna determine your future, if you know what I mean.
It's kind of like, this is it. I have nothing else. Like, if I fail this, this is the end. And I hated that.
Assessments weren't that big of a deal like throughout school until like we hit year 10, because that's when the first time we've ever like went into the sports hall and did like our mock exams with individual tables and whatnot. So I feel like it was a huge step up and kind of gave everyone like anxiety about it, because like no one was taking into that account how the past 2 years have been disrupted.